The 1600s were a time of big changes and sad events that changed history. From volcanoes to kings and queens and across the oceans, this century saw things that changed how people lived. Let's travel back to this exciting time and see how these events still affect us today. Let's look at some of the most important things that happened back then. High up in the mountains of South America, a volcano named Huaynaputina woke up. It had been asleep for a long time, but in the year 1600 it erupted with incredible power. Ash filled the sky for months, covering the land like a blanket. Villages close by were buried, and the air was hard to breathe. But this wasn't just a problem for South America. The Huaynaputina eruption affected the whole world. The air was full of ash, which made the weather go crazy. Crops died, people didn't have enough food, and the whole world got colder. Even the oceans felt it. The eruption changed how the water moved and hurt the fish, which was bad for people who relied on the sea for food. Huaynaputina reminds us how powerful nature is and how everything on Earth is connected. Meanwhile, in Europe, something else important was happening. In 1603, England's Queen Elizabeth I died. She had been queen for a long time, and now nobody knew who would rule. Elizabeth didn't have any children, so her cousin, James VI of Scotland, became king. This brought England and Scotland together. James now had to rule a country with religious problems, money troubles, and the threat of war. His time as king was full of secrets, plots, and disagreements with the government. But this is also when people started thinking about changing how the government worked. Elizabeth's death and James becoming king wasn't just about a new ruler. It was the start of a new era for England, one that would lead to big changes in how the country was run. While Europe was changing, something terrible was happening across the ocean. The slave trade, where people were taken from Africa and forced to work, became even worse in the 1600s. European ships went to Africa and traded goods for people. Men, women, and children were taken from their homes, chained up, and put on ships to work on farms far away. The journey across the ocean was horrible. Many people died from sickness, hunger, or sadness. Those who survived ended up working on farms in terrible conditions. The slave trade was a terrible time in history. Millions of people suffered because of it. It reminds us how important it is to fight for what's right and make sure everyone is treated fairly. In the East, in India, a powerful empire called the Mughal Empire was growing strong. The leader was Emperor Akbar, known for being smart, a great leader, and wanting to unite India. Akbar ruled for many years in the late 1500s and early 1600s. During this time, the Mughal Empire was very successful. Akbar made the empire bigger by winning battles and making agreements with other rulers. He created a strong government and made the empire wealthy. Akbar loved art and different religions. He made India a place where different cultures came together, and art, beautiful buildings, and books were created. But it wasn't always easy. Some people rebelled against Akbar because of religious differences, or because they wanted power. Akbar's armies won many battles, but many people died. Akbar's time as ruler was a mix of good things and fighting. It shows how powerful people can achieve great things, but also how hard it is to keep everyone united. The 1600s were full of big changes and challenges. From the volcano to the new king and the terrible slave trade, these events show us how the world can change in a blink of an eye. These stories from the 1600s teach us that what happens in the past affects us today. They remind us that our planet is connected, and people can do amazing and terrible things. By learning about history, we can understand the world better and try to make it a better place.